everybody. You have not gone crazy. I am Hoarder Gamer, and I am sort of borrowing the DSG channel to bring you Hoarder Flexes on Comics. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Let's see, I gotta minimize that so I can see chat. So this is basically a soft launch, so it might be a bit rough around the edges, but I think it's gonna be cool. I hope it's gonna be cool. I guess we'll see. We're gonna have some reviews. We're going to talk about comics that are coming out next week. We're going to talk about toys. We're going to talk about comic-related video games. It's not just going to be like one thing. I'm not a one-trick pony. I could do maybe 2 or 3 tricks. Hey, Doom, how you doing? Here's the background here. I've got my Infinity Gauntlet. See, the camera's reversed, so it's over there. The Infinity Gauntlet, little Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from Arcade 1-Up. We've got some Gotham Knights figures. A game that's going to come out this year. Suki. No, Suki is okay. Basically put some evil into the world today because when it was sadly announced that Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League is getting pushed back to spring of next year, Suki hinted that, oh, maybe the same thing will happen with Gotham Knights. Never, Suki! Never! Okay. I'm better now. I'm better now. It's just that when there's a huge comic book game, right? There's all this excitement for it, and it takes so long to come out. Like Assassin's Creed used to come out like every year. A good comic book game is like 5 years, 6 years. Marvel's Avengers, I like that quite a bit. But if you're looking at something like the Arkham series, 2016, and that was Arkham VR. 2015, that was Arkham Knight. Let's see here. I think we'll start first with a review for a comic book that came out today. And this might surprise people. I was surprised last week when I found out about this. Venom Lethal Protector #1. Now, you might be asking yourself, Venom Lethal Protector, isn't that an old series? The answer is yes. So basically what happened here is that they decided to retell the story of Venom Lethal Protector as if the entire Donny Cates run never happened. So it was entertaining and bizarre to say the least. It's filled with a lot of D-list supervillains. And the artwork is really good. I'm going to completely mispronounce the name. It's written by Michelini and artwork by Fiorelli. Hey, Suki. And it's a really good book. I like it a lot. Basically what you got going on is Venom's kind of waxing nostalgic for what it was like to be human. Because, you know, talks in plural a lot. We this, we that. We gonna eat some brains, you know. It's always we. Never me, never I with Venom. And for whatever reason, Venom is real quiet. Venom is like not talking. Doom is in chat. Darth Pablo. I do not know if Bloody is here. Good to see you, Darth Pablo. This is a well, what would I call this? A borrowing a borrowing of the channel. In case you don't know me, Darth Pablo, I am a member of the Doom Squad. My name's Hoarder Gamer. And everybody that doesn't know me, hello. And this is going to be the comic book show. The show about comic books, the show about toys, and all of that. So I'll do my best to entertain everybody watching. Thank you. So basically, yeah, waxing nostalgic about what it was like to be human and asking questions of the Venom symbiote, but the symbiote, it's being really quiet. And Eddie's not quite sure why. So after kicking some butt of let's say like D-string level super villains, Venom just kind of goes on his way. And he's like, man, it was really cool to be human in all this. And then finds out that Annie, his girlfriend, is engaged to be married. And he and Venom don't take that well. But it's still like Venom won't talk to him. It's kind of interesting that way. And what happens is Humbug, again, a D-list villain, one I didn't even know of until this book, decides that he wants to get some money together to fund a linguino machine. This has nothing to do with linguini. It's linguistics for insects. Because for whatever reason, Humbug controls insects. Awesome, Doom. I appreciate you being here, though. Thank you. So yeah, Humbug can control insects, right? And realizes it needs money to work on this linguistics of for insects machine. So decides to try to team up with these D-string level supervillains at best, and they just laugh at him. Well, then Humbug tracks down Venom, uses the sounds of insects, because sounds really screw with Venom badly. Real badly. Fire and sound, that's how you take out Venom. Or I guess any symbiote, really. Well, the unique modulations of different insect noises completely screw up Venom, and like the symbiote vanishes. Like comes off of Eddie and is just gone. And Eddie's like, whoa, what do I do now? So it's an interesting place to be for the book, and it's weird because now the D-string level supervillains are like, why'd we make fun of this guy? He took out Venom. Because, you know, everything in Marvel somehow becomes local news. Everything gets filmed. Everything gets up on the local news. Oh, man. It was good, though. I like it a lot. I'll definitely get issue 2. Because this is Hoarder Flexes on Comics, I think I have to literally do it. So I think that's legally something I need to do. So here we go. Let's there literally flexing on the comic, because if there's one thing I am, it's very literal to a fault. Do we have any questions on comics or anything at all? Number of really cool comics came out this week. New Task Force Z, which is kind of like a Undead Suicide Squad book. That came out, and a new issue of Detective Comics came out. Every week I'll have reviews. I'll probably have maybe like 2 reviews usually. This was a little bit short notice in getting everything together, so not quite as well planned and structured as it probably should be. We're also going to talk about toys. A really cool toy was announced this week. Jean Grey. And it's the 1990s style of Jean Grey. And it looks awesome. It's on HasbroPulse.com. You can check it out there. And they got like 15 pictures. And it's going to have this really cool retro 90s box style. And there's other figures in the series. They did a really great Wolverine figure and an awesome Mr. Sinister figure. So it's part of that 1990s style X-Men. And they look very cool. They look like they are just like ripped out of the cartoon. They're just fantastic. Can I do 50 reviews? In 25 weeks, I could do 50 reviews. Hello, Xbox Live Mike. Oh, Xbox Live Mike, I got you a copy. I got you your own copy of Venom. I wanted to surprise you on this stream and be like, hey, I ended up getting an extra. Oh, you're using the X-Men symbol as your icon. That's cool. But yeah, that's an awesome Jean Grey. I believe it's going to be $26.99, $27.99. Let me get a price here. 1 second. Ooh, is it still available even? $27.99. And it's cool because the packaging is not only 90s, it looks like a 1990s videotape. It's really neat. It's a cool line of figures that they're doing. And if you like Marvel Legends, it should be right up your alley. It should be really great. I mentioned very briefly that sadly they decided to take Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League and push it to next year. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be upset about that. Hi, Sendoa. I know a lot of people are going to be upset about that, but there's a lot that we could enjoy, right? First off, we still get Gotham Knights. Gotham Knights is still coming out this year. I sincerely doubt that will be pushed to next year. Knock on wood. I'm literally knocking on wood there. So, you know, it does come out when it should. And we got a lot to be excited about because we're going to get an alpha or a beta. Because the rumor for Suicide Squad is, well, we pretty much know it's co-op. But the rumor is also that it's a game as a service. Now, maybe that's being changed. But the co-op should still be there. So I expect an alpha or beta, just as I do for Gotham Knights. And that was, what, sort of leaked? Wasn't it like a week or two ago? There was something on Steam about an alpha or a beta for Gotham Knights, if I recall correctly. So yeah, we got that. We're going to have an alpha or beta probably for Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. We're going to have a lot more of that probably around more like E3 or, you know, something like that. They might do another thing, DC Fandom, which is this really cool yearly event the last 2 years, talking about all things DC video games, comic books, television, and movies. So yeah, don't be too upset that we're not going to be getting Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. I still think we'll get quite a bit of content, and we'll have people, you know, creating stuff on it, videos and everything. You're going to get a lot of content is, you know, the thing to be happy about with it. Anyone upset about the Suicide Squad thing? You can also say, too, right? When a game gets pushed back, it means that more time is going to be put into it. Rather it get pushed back than it come out, you know, in a terrible state, you know? We're going to look at some comic books now that are coming out next week. So doing the show on Wednesday night means a number of things. So on Tuesday, if I recall correctly, that's when DC books come out. DC. Wednesday is when Marvel and every other company put their books out. Most comic shops have it where it's just Wednesday because they need to have accurate, good staffing to cover getting all the books on the shelves, getting all the packages for customers together, and having everyone there to ring things up. So most shops can only really do that 1 day a week, that kind of staffing. So Wednesday is where my comic book shop has everything. That means if I get the books on Wednesday, I can do a review of 1 or 2 issues and then do this fun, exciting show for all of you. But because of that, the books will already be out. And if they're like super hot, right, and you don't have them in a hold, you may not be able to get first printing. So we're also, of course, going to focus on what comes out next week. That way you can actually plan ahead, be like, oh, this is exciting. I want to check this out. So we focus on the current as well as the next week. Feel like we have seen more of the Harry Potter game than Gotham Knights. Well, Gotham Knights, we got this cool like 8-minute video, right? And it was Batgirl and I believe it was Batgirl and Robin going up against Mr. Freeze. And it was kind of them like, taking out some enemies on the way. And there was some cinema going on. We got to see them on bikes going, riding to the scene of the crime, as it were. And it was really cool. So there was that, which was right about 8 or 9 minutes, I think. And then there was a trailer. And that was at the first DC Fandom. Second DC Fandom had another trailer. So basically we've had 2 trailers, kind of a behind-the-scenes short thing, and then about 8 minutes of gameplay. So yes, we're definitely going to get a lot more of Gotham Knights. There's no way it's just going to be that and then some sort of multiplayer beta. I mean, I would not be surprised if we get a deep dive type of thing like they had at the PlayStation, whatever that, what was that called? State of Play for Hogwarts Legacy. Yeah, that was a good point though, Mike. So, looking at books that come out next week. Now, it almost seems like what you'd call a bye week, meaning that there's a lot of comics and you should buy them. No, it means that 1 week where not all that many books come out. And that usually happens in a week that has 5 Wednesdays in it, or 5 comic book days. But I'm going to tell you right now what books do come out. This one's exciting, everybody. To all my X-Men fans out there, everybody who likes X-Men, this is going to be a real big book. And one of the best writers in comics is doing it. Immortal X-Men #1. I'm definitely going to review that next week. So we're going to start with Marvel right now. But yeah, Immortal X-Men #1. And that writer I talked about, Kieran Gillen. Not awesome actress Karen Gillan. I'm sure there have been, mix-ups at comic conventions between Karen Gillan and Kieran Gillen. But Kieran Gillen, he's an awesome writer. He did amazingly on a Darth Vader comic book series. Hey, Sentinel Zero, how you doing? Hi, Misplaced. Yeah, but that's going to be a hot book. It's going to be... You might actually get your fingers burned by touching a copy of that book. X-Men Immortal #1 is something that is very exciting. It's going to be fun for me to review because I am not completely caught up. Because being completely caught up on X-Men means that you read about 10 X-Men books. How many X-Men books does Hoarder Gamer read? 1, maybe 2. The base X-Men book. And, if there's anything like a big massive event, then the massive event book. The same thing I did for Venom. Like with miniseries, I find the smartest bet is to get the main book, right? And then to get like the books you really like or the books you're currently reading, rather than spending hundreds of dollars on a miniseries just to get different points of view from characters you may not be into. Save some money there. Very ready for the Destiny of X titles? It is absolutely insane how many X books come out like all the time. Hickman's run was awesome. I loved House of X and Powers of X. And what I've read of the his X-Men run was really cool. I read a few issues of Marauders as well, which is really neat because it's like a pirate-style X-Men book. as part of the League of Valiants, I actually got to interview Steve Orlando, who will be taking over as writer on Marauders. So that was pretty cool. I'm doing well, Misplaced. In case you just joined us, the book I reviewed this week was Venom Lethal Protector, and it's a lot of fun. It's an interesting throwback to the original Venom Lethal Protector series, and it seems to be they're kind of doing a retelling of it, which is interesting. There's something similar is happening with the Fantastic Four. There's this whole idea of like retelling things that have already happened and through a different lens. Slowly getting into comics, but on limited Marvel apps. Sorry, no hard copies for me. There's no reason to be sorry about that. Oh yeah, Hickman's run. Let me say what was amazing to me about Jonathan Hickman's run. As I'm reading House of X and Powers of X, which was, I believe, 6 issues of House of X, 6 issues of Powers of X, total 12 issues. As you're reading it, you're like, wow, this is awesome. How is it going to go together? It's amazing idea, wonderful concept all the time, right? And then this like real complicated like flow charts and stuff explaining things in great detail. And by the end, I kid you not, everything came together. And you're sitting there like, I was in the hands of a master. That's what it's like. It's like you just cannot believe the way he writes. He is so good. And yeah, that introduced me to Jonathan Hickman. And now I got to like go back and check out his other books. I know he did an Avengers run, I think a few years before House of X and Powers of X. But yeah, that's really neat. That is our first Marvel book coming out next week. And yes, I'm definitely getting that one. Our second book, Ghost Rider #2. So, I'm going to have some spoilers real quick for Ghost Rider 1. New Ghost Rider book started last month. And it is pretty wild. Basically, Ghost Rider is in, it seems to be hell. And there's a person in hell trying to help him, possibly. We don't know for sure. It seems like he's in the real world, but all of a sudden people turn demonic and flames come out and everything. And it seems like he's in hell. And we don't know exactly what's going on, which is a fun place to be with a comic book like this. You're interested in knowing where it goes. Benjamin Percy's the writer, and he also did or I believe he's still doing the Wolverine book. Yeah, one thing that so far has been really good though, Dean, is that they haven't like retconned everything yet. Comic fans will remember, I believe it was Astonishing X-Men. I believe that was the title. Oh, no, maybe it was just Grant Morrison's run. I think I have the name wrong. I apologize. But they had a character called Zorn. And Zorn, and who Zorn was, and everything around him, they basically had to retcon a lot of Marvel books and X-Men books because they didn't know what to do after Grant Morrison wrote it. And that was one of my favorite runs for a while. Too many different writers, so hard to keep track. Yes, I fully agree with you there. Some of my favorite books, luckily, had the same writer for an entire freaking run recently. Venom by Donny Cates. That was like 35 issues, 3.5 years. That was a great run. And Immortal Hulk, 50 issues. Also the same, I think that was the same writer and artist team. Now, there was some with Venom for sure. There was an arc where Donny Cates had a lot of projects to work on, I believe, and then someone took over, but it was so good. And he was still there for most of that run of those 35 issues. I would say he was there probably 27, 28 issues of those 35. But yeah, when books constantly change artists and writers, it's a bit much. Tom King wrote Batman for a long time. I think he went up to issue 75. Like when it went, like it basically was Batman, and then started with Batman 1, and then I think went all the way up, I think, to issue 75. So we've got that. Ghost Rider 2. We had Immortal X-Men #1. And next up from Marvel, we have Hulk #5. Now, I mentioned Donny Cates a moment ago. Donny Cates is currently writing Hulk. Something interesting happened, everybody. Donny Cates finished Venom. Okay? L. Ewing finished Immortal Hulk. Donny Cates took Hulk. L. Ewing took Venom. Working with Ram V. So, Hulk is an insane book. I highly recommend. And the easiest way to explain it is if you've seen the TV show Hannibal. They talk about like a mind prison, or a place in your mind, right? That you're there and like you have control, you feel at ease. Basically, the concept is Starship Hulk. And Bruce is like Picard or Kirk on the bridge of the Starship Hulk. Even though there's no physical Starship Hulk. And he's using electronics to recreate the traumas from Hulk's life in order to control Hulk. It is insane. It's crazy. Now they're on issue 5, and that'll be coming out next week. So yeah, I highly recommend that. Ryan Otley, I believe, is doing the artwork. Yeah. March 30th is the date they have for all these books. Reading Immortal Hulk, the Unlimited app helps. Yes, it does. And Immortal Hulk is wild. It's a body horror book. It's a truly excellent body horror book. Not sure about Kate's Hulk at first, but isn't it insane? Dude, when I read the first issue, I was like, I'm sorry, what? Now, seeing Hannibal, the awesome TV show, helped me. Because it was like, oh, I see. It's this kind of concept that was in there. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. I was not expecting Donny Cates to go there. Really? The biggest Hulk fan. That's cool. Yeah, the neat thing about Immortal Hulk is it's kind of a horror book. And it's amazing for something like that kind of feeds off the energy of like I believe it was the EC horror comics. Was one of the biggest sellers for Marvel. That book was so hot, they did 2 issues a month. They had reprints, I think, of most of the issues. One of the biggest sellers was a body horror book involving the Hulk. It's hard to even wrap my head around that, to be honest with you. And that's Marvel. Those are the Marvel books that I'm excited about, that I would recommend, that look really exciting and interesting. And I'll definitely be reviewing that Immortal Hulk #1 next week. That I'll be doing. I believe you're correct, Dean. It sold amazingly well. Yeah. Yeah, it's an awesome book. I happily have the issues in hardcover. I think the final hardcover's out. I'd have to double check that, actually. Okay, that's Marvel, everybody. Marvel Comics. Here's something wild. We're gonna look at DC now. Everybody, DC Comics now. Batman Beyond the White Knight. Now, there was Batman White Knight, which is one of the craziest Batman Joker stories. I highly recommend it. It's by Sean Murphy. And I think Dave Stewart also did the artwork for that, as he does on Batman Beyond the White Knight. Well, this is the 3rd or 4th book series that's coming out based on that concept. However, you might have seen a very interesting, or heard an interesting word in that title. Batman Beyond the White Knight. So this is the insane take of Batman Beyond now. Not just Batman and Joker. This should be wild. I'm looking forward to this. I think this is going to be really cool. I don't know how much it's going to be. It's probably going to be $4.99 or $5.99. Yeah, it is incredibly dark. Yes. But yeah, Batman Beyond the White Knight, that's one I might review. Also, too, if you have suggestions for books for me to review, let me know. I just need to know ahead of time, and I can make it happen. Can't guarantee every book, but like totally, you know, I take suggestions. But yeah, Batman Beyond the White Knight, that might be one of the other books I review next week. Oh, we also had this. One Dark Knight. A complete power blackout in Gotham. Batman. Visceral fighting. I believe it's like all black and white art, but I could be wrong about that. I apologize. Here's book 2 of it. Here's book 2. Yeah. This is supposed to be one of the better books this year, especially if you're a Batman fan. I think One Dark Knight is something I would definitely recommend. It is written and artwork is done by Jock. Just one word, Jock. And DC versus vampires. Are you a fan of DC? Are you a fan of vampires? Well, have I got the book for you. DC versus vampires, which is number 6 of 12. So yes, you have missed 5 issues possibly. But it's James Tynion the Fourth, my good man, writing it. And his run on Batman was really cool. So, in fact, I'm trying to think. I think someone else is taking over Batman. Batman's a little confusing right now. But Detective Comics, because like from what I've heard, I guess basically Detective Comics is going to be like the main Batman book for a while or something. I have to fully understand that. I've got to do the research on that. I was like, what? Because I was surprised, because Batman is a book that comes out twice a month. As I was going through the previews catalog, the most recent one, not the one that came out today, that's incredibly recent. I haven't even looked at it yet. But the one that came out like last month, the most recent for me that I've looked at, that one had 1 issue of Batman. And I was like, well, that's odd. What about the second issue? And yeah, apparently Detective Comics is going to be becoming the flagship for Batman. Let's see. So yeah, so those are the books coming out next week that I'm interested in that I think are exciting. I like Green Lantern a lot, but the difficulty is trying to keep up with a number of books. Yeah, I would love to. I would absolutely love to read Grant Morrison's run on Green Lantern. I've heard it's great. I've read a few issues here and there, but not any of the entire series. And I believe it was 2 seasons, almost like a TV show, but in comic book form. His whole pitch was a police procedural, but with Green Lanterns. That was at least his pitch for the first season or first series. Now, we're going to take a look at the toy shelf behind me. And today we're going to look at Nightwing. Ooh, that's a good angle. That's not blinding anybody, and you can still kind of see the detail and everything. We got Nightwing right here from Gotham Knights. This is from the DC Multiverse series by McFarlane Toys, and it's a really good figure. I like it a lot. He's got the I believe they're called the Screama sticks. I'm pretty sure that's what his weapons are called, his batons. But yeah, really cool figure. Retails right about $19.99. You can get it from Amazon.com. I also have the other ones, but I didn't figure we'd look at all the figures unless anyone else wants to see one of the other ones. I do have a Red Hood, Batgirl, and Robin as well. And again, these are the Gotham Knights figures. The toy's out months before the game. Because we know now the game comes out October 25th. Not loving the current Green Lantern book. Definitely waiting for a change up. Oh, really? Who's currently writing it? Do you know? Oh, here's something that really drives people crazy about me. There's a lot of comic fans that focus on the art, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I focus a lot on the writer. And for me, the art is secondary. But I also love and adore great artists. Yeah, but I really like these figures a lot. I'm sure they'll do some other ones too, right? Like they have, like I said, Nightwing, Robin, Batman, and Batgirl. You know? So I'm sure they'll do like the villains and stuff, the characters we don't know of yet in Gotham Knights. Do I have any questions or any suggestions for comic books I should review? Or if anyone else wants to see any of the other Gotham Knights figures, let me know. I can go and grab one. They're just right behind me. It is no imposition. Be playing a game? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, Sentinel Zero. I will be playing Gotham Knights. Maybe too much. I really hope it's what I'm hoping for, right? Like, the feeling of like an Arkham game, even though this isn't technically in the Arkham series, right? But, you know, that full-on giant style game, exploration and everything, and the ability to replay missions to grind and get better gear, and to play those missions with friends. Like if I want, can I play the mission solo? And then I can just replay that mission to my heart's content? Can I only replay certain missions? You know, I really look forward to getting this information. Also, too, the rumors have been that it's going to be like some of the most villains in any of the Batman Arkham games. Even though, again, this technically isn't an Arkham game. But like, just to give you an idea, you know, that's like 10 villains, 12 villains. Is this really going to have a ton more villains than that? Yes. Was that recent? Was that recent that the Nightwing book just went into the stratosphere? because like the last 3 or 4 issues, I was told I need to check it out. And yes, the Nightwing book is really damn good. Yeah, I don't believe there was a Nightwing issue this week though, so that's why I didn't bring it up specifically. But yeah, that's a strong book. And when a new issue does come out, like whatever week that is, I'll be talking about it. I'll be talking about it. Also, what? I think Justice League, doesn't that end real soon? Doesn't it end with issue 75? At least this run of it. They're on 73 or 74 right now. Oh, some comic book news I definitely have to cover briefly, though. So, one thing I've brought up that I thought was a little bit disappointing is that Amazing Spider-Man, right? The book was twice a month. Okay. Batman did that. Detective Comics does that. Some other books do that twice a month. Okay. Well, they decided that they wanted to hit the anniversary. So they wanted to get to a certain point, and then it was 3 times a month. I believe that was in October, I think it started, or November. The book started 3 times a month. I kid you not. It got up to 4 times a month. It was like every week, a new issue of Amazing Spider-Man. So they could hit the anniversary. And I do find it irksome that, obviously I understand due to things like COVID, maybe issues with printing and stuff like that. I totally get that, obviously. But looking at all that and then deciding to put all of this on the fans' shoulders, I think is a bit much. You know, I don't know why the fan has to carry the brunt of that. So I don't agree with that situation and how they did the entire Beyond series, although Beyond was good. Ben Reilly coming back as Spider-Man, in a hospital bed, trying to recuperate. It was good. It was a good story. It was good stuff. But again, I feel they didn't have to do it that way, right? So yeah, I definitely wanted to cover that because what that leads into is the announcement this week that Amazing Spider-Man #1, because of course they're going to start it all over again. I believe it's a new creative team possibly too. Pushed back to like April. So they made everyone get the Amazing Spider-Man like every week for 2 or 3 months. And now this. Obviously they're not mind readers. They're not psychics. They didn't know this was going to happen. They don't see the future. But it's just disappointing, right? The idea of expecting anyone to buy your book weekly, I think, is a bit much. Okay, everybody, do we have any questions for me? Again, or any suggestions of comics I should be reading or I should review? Next week, I'll be back with another episode. Well, I don't know how Amazing Spider-Man is going to do it, Sentinel. Like, it might be a cool way, right? It might, like, feed off of everything that's already happened, but a new writer and artist is taking over. That's what happened when James Tynion IV, my good man, took over Batman from Tom King. So everything that was there was still there. But like, you know, telling a new story. So not like they're starting from scratch. Although that can happen when they start with issue 1. Human Target is one of your favorites. It's on break after today's book. Yeah, it was issue 6, right? See, Dean, for me, I decided to get the trade of that. I bought the first issue and I think the 3rd issue or 2nd issue. And to me, I really like Tom King. And I know I'll break down and get the trade anyway, right? So To me, it makes sense to wait for all those 12 issues, or if they decide to do 2 trades, 6 and 6, just to go that route. To save money, and it just, to me, makes sense. It's easier for me to focus then on things like, Batman and Fantastic Four, which has been really fantastic. I recently got into Fantastic Four last year, and I quite like it. It's one of my favorite books. Oh, Moon Knight as well. Moon Knight by Jed MacKay is phenomenal. We'll definitely talk about that when a new issue comes out. Any good Iron Man recommendations? That is a very good question. Do we have anyone here in chat that knows Iron Man well? I apologize. That's one of my weak points. That's one of my weak points. Civil War, the first Civil War series. A lot of people don't like Civil War 2. Going to have the first 6 collected before it continues? Ah, okay. Everybody, I want to thank you all very much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. I love this live vibe and everything. I think it's really cool. I'd like to thank Doom Squad Gaming. Thank you. My next episode will be next week. It might be a little earlier. I'm not exactly sure. Let's see what time works out the best. Also, obviously I need time to get home, be able to read 1 or 2 books so I can do a review on them. Next week will be more focused. Next week I'll have a little bit more time to plan. And yeah, I thank everyone who watched this. I thought this would be more chaotic than it was. On my part, not on yours. Not a big Iron Man reader. If you're down for some Evil Tony. Yes, I've heard Superior Iron Man is awesome. I have not read it, though. But yes, I've heard it's awesome. And I did not know Tom Taylor wrote it. I have no choice but to grab that, Dean. I didn't know he wrote it. Yeah, Tom Taylor is writing Dark Ages and Dark Knights of Steel, I believe. 2 kind of medieval leaning comics. One for Marvel, one for DC at the same time. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that, everybody. Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. And Bloody, thank you. Taking notes. I know nothing about comics. Bloody, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the DSG DMs. Or on Twitter. If anyone has questions, you always ask me on Twitter. Awesome, Sentinel. Thank you very much. Dean, Sentinel, Bloody, Mike, everybody else that watched, thank you very much. And I will see you next week when, again, Hoarder, wait for it, flexes on comics. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.